All right. Tenemos el compadre Mario Alberto. ¿Cómo estás, compadre?
¿Qué tal, Daniel? ¿Cómo estás, man? Aquí desde Seattle, mandando saludos a toda la gente, man. Appreciate you having me on here tonight.
Oh man, I'm excited to have you on the show. Oh my God, we have been waiting because we have been hearing about your debut single and hearing about it, and then it's like once the song came out, híjole, se calentó, man. Like you outdid yourself, like big time.
Ooh. I'm in trouble now.
I'm like, this is just like I was telling Leona Promotions. I was like, this is the debut single. Like, híjole, like this is good.
Yeah, it's funny. I went back and forth as far as what I wanted to release for like my debut single, and I really wanted something that was energetic, something that was just going to kind of kick the door down and kick it open and say, okay, here you go, man. Let's do it and just go for it. So yeah, it's a little bit of a audacious song to throw out there for the first cut, but hey, man, go for it. Go big or go home, right?
Yeah, that's what I say, especially with a debut. And I debut a lot of artists on here, and like that's what they know me for, is breaking in artists, and I love it. I love hearing the music first. I love doing the interviews and all that. And like once Leona told me, hey, you know what? Mario Alberto is gonna be sending his new single out. ¿Sabes qué? Go and play it. Like it's gonna be good. And like with your musical history, you also play with Los Balcones, right?
Yeah, with Los Volcanes, Eddie Rodriguez, man. They're also out of Seattle. I'm in, man. So if they're listening, shout out to Eddie and Sean. They're the heads of the band, and I'm in the rest of the band that's out there. But yeah, I've been playing with Eddie for a couple of years now. Doing some songwriting and in a musical director role for the band I'm in. So yeah, this was kind of a step out for me. Being with the band for so long, just kind of like, all right, I'm going to venture out, and then I'm still with the band. It's not like we're split up or anything like that, right? We're still good friends, and we're still playing together and stuff like that. And this was just like, hey man, I want to go out and explore a little bit on my own and see what happens and play around. So yeah, first cut coming out, and Volcanes are holding their own here in Seattle también, and they've been around for a while. Eddie's got a good tenure también in the industry, so.
And that's the one thing, like, I know with what got you involved in music.
My mom and dad were musicians and vocalists, and I remember as a kid, my dad played the accordion and the bajo sexto. And, my family's from Texas. We're from Edinburgh, right down in the valley. And so we grew up listening to Tejano music, right? It was old school, man. I'm dating myself a little bit here. It was like Royal Jesters, early Latin Breed, Tortilla Factory. My dad was a big conjunto guy, Los Dos Albertos, right? Rubén Vela. And so that was just in my blood growing up. I have an older brother years ago who moved to Texas to play Tejano music. And, I started playing locally, in Oregon and in Washington when I was like 16, 17 years old, playing with local Tejano bands. And I did that for a long time, and it kind of deviated for a little bit, went out to explore banda and, La Onda Grupera for a little while, and spent a lot of time on the road doing that. But Tejano was always my roots, man. That was always home. That was always something that I loved and always just missed. And so prior to coming back to Tejano music, I did a little stint there. I was a worship leader at my church for a long time, and did a tour of duty también as a pastor for a little bit in the también. But Tejano music was always my go-to, and it just felt like home. And so Eddie reached out to me a couple of years ago and said, hey man, I need a keyboard player. I got some new music that's coming out, and I'm looking for a keyboard player to help me out on the road. So I thought, sure, the intention wasn't to stay in the band. It was just to kind of help him out on a couple of gigs and then kind of go back into retirement, But playing with Eddie really kind of just sparked that desire to get back into music again. And so for the past couple of years, probably 2.5, almost 3 years now, I've just been in the trenches, man, just writing and working on my chops again, and, getting into some singing también. And so, so outside of playing with Eddie, this is kind of my first step going out. And that's really what, it's always been in the blood. I can blame my mom, my dad, for instilling it in me as a young age. So it's always been in me.
That's always nice coming from a musical family. Like, of course, I come from a musical family as well, and It's just
Nice. What do you play?
oh, we have various musicians. I'm like one of the only DJs because no matter what instrument I touch, I cannot play it. Even though I try, but I cannot play it.
Yeah.
But I can like I understood more of the sound and like I got more into the PA and I got more into the like, oh shoot, I can mix. Oh shoot, I know how to like go and mix this accordion player with this other one, and I can make it sound like it's the same band.
Yeah. Nice. I have a couple siblings that are like that, and most of my siblings and my parents, for the most part, either sing or play. I have a couple siblings that really don't sing or play, but they dance. So so that's their thing, man. So they're creative, just in a different way.
Yeah, like my cousins, they make fun of me. Ay, no puedes tocar nada. I'm like, yeah, of course. Pero I know how to make sure that you sound good.
That's right. You're still making music at the end of the day, man. And truthfully, sound engineers, man, they are so underrated a lot of times, man. You don't see them, but they make the band sound good. And without them, híjole, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, thank God,
nightmare, man.
Thank God, like some good people I met down here that taught me, and it's like, oh shoot, I can really hone this in. And también like just hearing a lot of these bands too, and it's like, oh man, like they like just helping them out and just focusing on like, oh man, like that's why I like working with a lot of new artists too, is I can go and hear it and it's like, okay, this song is gonna be a hit, so that's good. This song's gonna make it on a countdown. So and that's the best part. Like this song, I see a bright future for it as well, because it's just like straight up power cumbia. It's like what I was playing earlier on the show.
Yeah.
And knowing your history, like what artists influenced you?
Oh man. I think early in my career, I would say Jay Perez and David Garza were big influences. Gary Hobbs. But también Esteban Jordan played a big role in early influences for me. I just really, for whatever reason, I was just drawn. I mean, you can't go wrong with Esteban Jordan, right? He's classic. He was a pioneer back in his day. And I think that's kind of what drew me to him, right? I mean, I like the stability that like a David Garza brings, and a vocalist like Jay Perez, right? Those guys are just like, those are the unicorns, right? They're just the rare guys, right? They're just talented, they're just naturally gifted. But then you got guys like Esteban Jordan, right? That they were just pioneers, and they were different. They were Tejano, they were Conjunto, they were Norteño, but they were also different and creative. And I really think he was like miles ahead of his generation, and even miles ahead of his technology, right? He had that old Echoplex that he used on his accordion back in the day. And he was just a genius, and I just loved that creativity. And I was drawn to that, and that was an early influence for me, right? I mean, Tejano music it's great, whether you look at it from a Tejano perspective or Conjunto perspective, it's all great. But there's a lot of similarities because it's a very similar rhythm, similar chord progressions. But making it your own and giving it that creative flair, that's kind of what draws me to it, right? And so those guys were early influences for me. Even David Mares, I mean, when he was with us, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank on the band that he was with when he first started. I think it was Royal Jesters, right?
Oh yeah, him and Joe Posada and
Joe Posada, yeah. And so guys like that were just their creativity just really just caught my attention. So and then even early, right? I'm a fan of Selena, and as a sax player, Fito Olivares, right? Those were the jam and cumbias to play like in the '90s, right? And so, and that's really what Me Vuelves Loco is about, right? It's a tribute, homage to Selena and Fito Olivares, right? I think Avi did an amazing job in developing a unique style of cumbia that was unique to Selena, right, during those time in the '90s. And I think you did a great job setting that. So this is kind of my tribute to those two influences in my life with that song that you're hearing in Me Vuelves Loco.
And you can hear it too. You can hear like a little bit of AB in it, and of course, like just the way that I heard some of it the first time, and now that you're bringing it up, it's like, oh yeah, I hear it. And of course, the people are going to hear it once we play it later. But with those type of influences, especially Steve Jordan has a huge impact on La Onda. And just by using the synthesizers and just experimenting, and that's the one thing I like too. And I tell artists, go and experiment. Like, go and find something else you can use.
Yeah.
I was like, go use that instrument that you think sounds really cool and try and mix it in. Like, take that risk. Because someone like me who just loves music, and it's like, oh shoot, you use that? Like, I didn't know that you used that instrument. It sounded more like this. And it just makes it more interesting and more of a conversation piece.
Absolutely. And just like any music style, right, it morphs over time, right? I like to use the analogy of rock and roll when it first came out, right, with Chuck Berry. You know, it was hardcore blues and rock, and then it's morphed. You know, Elvis took it to another level than the Beatles did, and the Rolling Stones, and then it just morphed to the 80s and then to the 90s into the grunge, and it's morphed. It's still rock, but it's morphed, right? Especially as technologies come along and, you know, the advancements in instruments, right? But being willing to take a risk and be different, that sometimes is scary, man. There's a lot of vulnerability in that. So I give a lot of props to musicians and bands and artists that are wanting to have that courage and that boldness to keep things fresh, but also to be different and really just step out and give it a go, man. You're never going to know, right? You can think that you're writing a hit, but it's really up to the fans and the followers to say, hey, man, this is a great song, right? Because without the listeners, the followers, and the fans, it's just a long sound check, right? Garth Brooks always talks about that, right? Without the people, it's just a long sound check.
Yeah.
And without the fans listening to it, and without people like you playing the music on the radio, it's just a long studio session. And so, got to be willing to step out, man.
Yeah, and especially now with the new technology and the way that singles come out like every other day or every other week, and it's like, okay, well, who's this new artist? Like, I get afraid with as many new songs that come out, people get lost, and it's like, okay, well, this person came out with a brand new single. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. Like, and especially you, I keep on getting compliments from your debut single, and they like the cumbia, they like the rhythm, especially there in the Midwest where I come from. They just love the song. They like how it goes.
Yeah.
And then jamming it here in San Antonio and having it play, people are dancing in the middle of the street. Porque si se pegan.
Yeah. Well, I really, truly appreciate that, especially, you know, geographically. You know, I'm not in the heart of San Antonio, right? I'm not in the heart of Tejano music, right? There's a lot of Tejanos up here in the Northwest, right? But because there's different genres of Latino music, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And so, you know, getting the support from, you know, radio, you know, DJs and stations like yourself, and then even people that are listening to it, requesting it, and just, you know, booming it from the cars or whatever, that's a big support. And even more so for somebody like myself, who's a brand new artist, you know, hitting the airwaves and looking for support and looking for, you know, continued encouragement, right, to go on. And so I really, really appreciate the efforts, you know, and sharing the music out there.
Oh, yeah, because I always have my station jamming in the car because I don't listen to AM, FM radio. I mostly listen to my station and a lot of the other internet stations. So at least, like, I know if I'm talking to someone, they don't like my station, hey, there's a variety. Here are my other compadres, so at least you can go and listen to what you want. Yep,
absolutely. Yeah, I pop in and out of probably about 14 or 15 different internet radio stations. I don't listen to too much like commercial radio station in the car. It's mostly streaming or internet radio, just because I like the variety and not the mainstream stuff. So
yeah, that's the one thing I try and tell people too. It's like internet radio and like streaming has so much variety, and I was like, there's so many options that you don't know what's gonna happen, and it's like, oh shoot, like that they got a live DJ on. like every Tuesday we have the show. We tell people about it, and now that we have the podcast, they're able to go back and listen to it.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that we're able to highlight new artists like you and show how awesome the industry is. Yeah, the industry is not dead at all. Like we have plenty of new talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm excited for the new talent that's coming out there, especially the younger talent that's out there. You know, all the ladies that are coming out, and even the young, you know, you look at like the Ibarra boys, for example, right? They've got a new cumbia that's out, right? That's exciting, right? Not only is it new, you know, they're getting some help on the production, but it's new blood coming in, and it's going to help with the longevity, right?
Yeah. And most people are afraid to go and admit, like, hey, you know what? Like this one, La Onda does have longevity. La Onda's going to live on forever. Like, it's not only a culture, but it's also that lifestyle, too.
Absolutely. Spot on, man.
And
absolutely.
You see it up there in Seattle, because I keep on getting the Vilas and all that from there, and it's like, oh my God, I want to go and perform over there. And then you get it from New Mexico, Arizona, and of course the Midwest, and now the Northeast is starting to come up with more Tejano festivals, and it's like, you see, we're starting to gain more momentum again, and people don't see it.
Yeah.
And especially,
I would love nothing more than like an awakening, right? A fresh awakening of Tejano music. There's a lot of great music. A lot of the older music, but there's a lot of great new music too, man. And I would just love to see an awakening, across the U.S. In Tejano music, right?
Oh yeah, like I would so love to see that too. Like I see it coming. I see it happening.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, some people are impatient, and it's like, no, like just watch. Like we know what's going to happen. We know it's going to happen soon. But watch. I was like, Grupo Frontera, like people say that they're not Tejano and all that, but I was like, they're putting El Valle on the map again.
Absolutely.
And it's like, there's awesome talent coming out of the Valley. There's awesome talent coming out, and they're helping us get that music forward.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, that's that whole debate, right? They're Tejano, they're not Tejano, they're norteño, they're conjunto, they're regional, they're international. Hey, they're, like you said, they put El Valle on the map. They're keeping Tejano on the radar. They're keeping norteño on the radar. They're keeping conjunto on the radar. They're bringing life to. I mean, they were on GMA. Was it last week?
Yeah.
Right. When was the last time that ever happened for any Latino band, let alone a Tejano band or a conjunto band? Right.
Yeah.
So props to them, man. Mad props to them.
And that's what I'm trying to get the people to see, especially with my programming. It's like we have so much. We have like 13 hours of brand new music that plays after the show. So once we're done, 13 hours de puro música nueva.
That's a lot.
And you're on that list too. And it's like, okay, you're playing like right after Lucky Joe. So it's like, there's so many like new artists that are being shown right after this program.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have the industry that is going to be popping off right now. And then, of course, bringing back to Grupo Frontera and all the other bands out of the Valley. And plus, you and Eddie, like, making it, like, having dances all over the place in Seattle también. And, of course, I got to give it out to the compadres allá in Seattle, Throwdown Radio también.
Yeah,
Throwdown Mix. Like, they're one of the people who are making sure that Seattle is being seen all over the Tejano world right now too.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Johnny Chanclas, right? He's based out of Washington también, and Benjamin Barreras, right? Out of Eastern Washington también, right? So these are guys that they've been in the industry, they're known, and they're helping not only keep Tejano on the radar, but also keeping the Northwest on the radar también.
And that's the best part. That's why I love Johnny and Chiflada and all that, because they always are like, we have been friends ever since Tejano Spotlight Radio started, and that's 10 years ago. So
Nice.
Well, going to be 10 years in March, so it's like, yeah, we have been putting people on the map, and people just don't see it or they don't recognize it. And it's like just seeing them do Vegas and making sure that, like, I just like seeing, okay, Seattle's in the house, and also Tejano Lips too. Like they have been all over the place helping out people too.
Yep.
And making sure that artists like you and everyone else is being seen. And that's what my job is for, is to make sure that you get seen. And honestly, like, I'm so proud that I'm debuting this song on the program. I'm so happy that your first interview is with me. So that's awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Definitely appreciate that. And props to Laura, Leona Promotions, for hooking me up, making that happen tonight. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And, I appreciate, like I said, the music being played, and I hope people are enjoying it. I'm getting ready for, targeting the next release coming out here sometime in November around Thanksgiving time. That'll tap into a little bit of more of my Tejano Conjunto roots a little bit. So change up the rhythm a little bit. So we'll throw a ranchera your way a little bit, and then we'll go back to another cumbia afterwards. So
awesome! Like that I can't wait. Like, now that you gave the date, and of course any shout outs that you would love to give.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said to Eddie and Sean out there, Los Volcanes, to all my family in Washington and Oregon, to my wife, También over in Seattle and Renton. She's at home chilling. I'm not sure if she's listening in or she's working on dinner right now, pero saludos a ella también. My kids también, and all the radio DJs también, yourself, Daniel. Thank you for all the help and, making it possible, man. Keep things going.
And we would like to thank you, and any social media that you have that they can go and find you at.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on Facebook under Mario Alberto, also on Instagram and TikTok under Mario Alberto Music. And that's music with a Z, con una Z. So you can find me on those handles. And then you can find all my music on the platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, YouTube, Tidal, all the different streaming and download platforms that are available to them.
And don't forget, follow.
Yeah, I've got some merch I'm actually going to be uploading. I've got some shirts that are coming in. I got a couple different t-shirt designs, and I've got some shot glasses that I'll be throwing up for sale here, hopefully later this week when they come in. So there's merch that's going to be available so
awesome. And don't forget, go buy his music, stream his music, because Raza, it's gonna be a hit también. And also, don't forget to vote for it on Más Chingón Radio, our affiliate, Más Chingón Radio. Don't forget to go and vote him into the top 20 for this song as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it, share it, promote it, help a brother out. Como dicen, hook a brother up.
Yeah, that's true. Go hook them up, get them into the top 20 countdown, the Más Chingón Radio. And don't forget, Raza, just go stream. You can also catch this podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, as well as many of the other podcast platforms. And we'll be having this all over the place. That's for sure, compadre.
Looking forward to it.
And would you like to introduce your latest single?
Absolutely. Thank you for everybody who's listening to not only to today's program, but also to the continued support for Daniela and his program out here at Tejano Spotlight Radio. But this next song coming up is my debut single called Me Vuelves Loco. It's a rock and jamming sensual cumbia. So put your headphones on, crank up your speakers, grab a cold beer, and enjoy the song.
Suelto, tu cuerpo irresistible es una fuego de tu pasión. Me vuelves loco con tus movidas, estoy mareado, voy a enloquecer. Siento las vueltas, donde me agarro no sé qué hacer. Con cada empujón, con cada tiro, siento que en una tranza estoy. Hipnotizado con esas caderas, se mueven rico como un péndulo. A la izquierda y a la derecha, remolineando con un carrusel. Así perreando me vuelves loco hasta el amanecer. Oye, mira, siéntelo. Tic-toc, tic-toc. Suelto, tu cuerpo irresistible es una hoguera, una quemazón que se siente el fuego de tu pasión. Me vuelves loco con tus movidas, estoy mareado, voy a enloquecer. Siento las vueltas, donde me agarro no sé qué hacer. Muévelo, muévelo. Con cada empujón, con cada tiro, siento que en una tranza estoy. Hipnotizado con esas caderas, se mueven rico como un péndulo. A la izquierda y a la derecha, remolineando con un carrusel. Así perreando me vuelves loco hasta el amanecer. Muévelo rico, mami. Así. Sienten rico.